The sun dipped low over the horizon, turning the sky into a river of molten gold as dust swirled around the old ranch gate. The faint creak of the wooden fence and the smell of smoke from the chimney told stories of hard work, long days, and quiet nights. Ethan Cole, the man who ran the Cole Ranch with hands of steel and a heart locked behind years of solitude, leaned against the gate, his hat tipped low, leather vest catching the glow of dusk. He'd buried his wife 3 winters ago, and since then his world had shrunk to 3 small hearts who still ran to him every morning calling, "Pa." Life had become routine. Sunrise, work, supper, sleep, until that day when a woman appeared on the dirt road, her blue dress brushing against the wind, eyes filled with something between hope and heartbreak. Her name was Clara Monroe, a teacher from the East, lost between towns looking for work, maybe a second chance at life. Ethan had seen her coming from a mile away. The dust trail, the determined walk, the way she carried her bag tight against her chest as if guarding her last piece of dignity. "You lost, miss?" he'd asked, his voice deep, steady. She paused by the gate, eyes traveling over the open fields, the cabin, the 3 small figures playing near the fence, 2 girls and a boy, all dirt-smeared and smiling. "I'm looking for work," she said softly. "I can cook, clean, teach if need be. I just can't stay where I was." He studied her for a long moment, his gaze unreadable. "You a runaway?" "No," she answered, almost in a whisper. "Just someone trying to start over." The youngest girl, barely 4, toddled up and tugged at Ethan's leg, pointing to Clara with wide eyes. "Pa, she's pretty," the little one giggled. Ethan smiled faintly, then looked back at Clara. "You can stay in the spare cabin," he said finally. "There's work here if you're not afraid of hard days." She nodded quickly, relief flooding her face, though something about her eyes told him she carried more than just travel dust. She carried a story she didn't want to tell. The days passed quietly. Clara worked from dawn till dusk, washing, cooking, mending clothes, and teaching the children their letters under the shade of the big oak near the barn. Ethan watched her from afar, not out of suspicion, but something softer, something he hadn't felt since his wife's laughter echoed through these lands. He saw the way she smiled at the children, the way they clung to her skirts, how her voice brought calm to the chaos of ranch life. Yet every night when the sun fell and the world turned still, she sat alone by the window of her small cabin, staring into the dark, as if the stars held answers to questions too painful to ask aloud. One evening after supper, Ethan found her sitting outside the main house, her eyes wet though she smiled when he approached. "Kids asleep?" he asked. She nodded. "They told me stories about their mother tonight," she said softly. "Said she used to braid their hair, sing them songs." Ethan's jaw tightened slightly. "Yeah," he said after a pause. "She was the heart of this place. Been hard without her." Clara looked down, fingers twisting the edge of her shawl. "I'm not sure I can fill a space like that," she whispered. "I'm not mother material." He studied her, the weight of her words hanging in the cool air. "You telling me you can't be a mother?" he asked gently. She hesitated, then nodded. "I tried once," she said, voice trembling. "Lost the baby. Lost the man, too. Since then, I just can't." Ethan's gaze softened, his hand brushing the fence rail. "Clara," he said, his voice a low rumble, "you don't have to try. You just have to be." She looked up at him, confused, until he tilted his head toward the house. "Because whether you see it or not, I've got 3 little ones already calling you Mama. When they think I ain't listening." Her lips parted in shock and tears spilled freely this time. "They what?" He smiled. a rare, gentle curve of his mouth that spoke more than words ever could. Guess they see something. You don't. Maybe they just know what home feels like. The wind stirred between them, carrying the scent of wildflowers and wood smoke. And for the first time in years, Clara's heart began to thaw. She hadn't come looking for love or belonging, but maybe life had brought her exactly where she needed to be. That night she lingered by the fence long after he went inside, the stars burning brighter than she'd ever seen. Maybe she couldn't be the mother she once dreamed of, but perhaps, just perhaps, she could be the one these children needed. As the camera fades on the golden horizon, the narrator's voice would say, "Sometimes family isn't made by blood, it's born of love, healing, and second chances." Weeks rolled into months, and the Cole Ranch began to change in quiet, beautiful ways. The laughter of children carried across the fields again, and Clara's voice became the melody of every morning. She had learned how to mend fences, milk cows, and soothe tears all in the same breath. The kids adored her. Little Lily wouldn't sleep without her goodnight story. Samuel followed her everywhere holding his wooden horse. And Emma, the eldest, started wearing her hair the same way Clara did, tied neatly with a ribbon. Ethan noticed everything. Every moment, every time Clara smiled and the home felt alive again. A part of his heart, the part he thought buried with his late wife, began to stir. Yet even in peace, the past has a way of testing what's real. One afternoon, a storm started brewing on the horizon, thick gray clouds, rolling in faster than anyone expected. The cattle were still out in the north pasture, and Ethan saddled his horse to bring them in. Clara rushed out onto the porch, her blue dress whipping in the wind. "Ethan, it's too dangerous," she cried, fear flickering in her eyes. He gave her a reassuring smile. "I've faced worse storms," he said. "Keep the kids safe." And then he was gone, swallowed by the roaring wind and the dust. Hours passed. The storm raged like a beast unleashed. Thunder cracked across the sky, and the children huddled close to Clara inside the cabin. The roof creaked, rain hammered against the windows, and the howling wind shook the very walls. Clara lit a lamp, holding the little ones close, whispering soft prayers under her breath. But when lightning struck the barn in the distance, setting the old wood ablaze, panic flared. "The horses!" Emma cried. Without thinking, Clara grabbed her shawl, wrapped it tight, and ran into the storm. The rain soaked her to the bone, but she kept running, heart pounding. She tore open the barn door against the wind, coughing through smoke and sparks, untied the frightened horses, and led them out one by one. That's when she saw him, Ethan, half collapsed near the gate, one arm cut and his shirt soaked in rain and blood. "Ethan!" she screamed, rushing to him. He tried to wave her off, but his strength gave out. She pulled him up, bracing his weight on her shoulder, and dragged him back toward the cabin through the storm. The moment they stumbled inside, the children ran to him, crying. "Pa!" Clara laid him on the floor, tore a strip from her dress, and pressed it against his wound. Her hands shook, but her eyes were fierce. She gave orders, calm and steady. "Emma, bring the kettle." "Samuel, hold the lamp steady." The fear that once defined her, the belief that she couldn't be strong, couldn't be a mother, was gone. In that moment, she was everything those children needed her to be. When dawn finally came, the storm had passed. The fire was out, the ranch stood firm, and Ethan's wound was clean and wrapped. He opened his eyes to see Clara asleep beside him, her hand still resting on his chest, fingers clutching the fabric of his shirt as if afraid to let go. He smiled weakly and whispered, "You did good." "Clara." She woke with a start, tears glistening in her eyes. "You scared me half to death," she said, voice breaking. He reached up and brushed a strand of wet hair from her face. "You saved my life," he murmured. "You saved this family." She shook her head, whispering, "I didn't think I could. I thought I wasn't meant to be a mother." He looked at her, long and deep, the way a man looks when words fall short. Then he said quietly, "You already are. Not because you tried, but because you love them. And because they love you." She covered her mouth, unable to hold back the tears anymore. The children woke soon after and climbed onto the bed, wrapping their arms around them both. "Mama," little Lily said softly. And this time Clara didn't flinch or correct her. She just held them all close, her heart full and trembling. Outside, the sun broke through the clouds, painting the world gold again. The ranch, the fields, the family all felt new, reborn. Clara stood on the porch later that day, watching Ethan tend to the animals, the children running wild in the grass. For the first time in years, she wasn't running from her past. She was home. Ethan walked over, wiping his hands, and stood beside her. "Storm's over," he said. She smiled, looking out over the land that had tested and healed them both. "Yeah," she whispered. "But it gave us something beautiful." As the screen fades to the warm glow of sunset, the narrator's voice says, "Sometimes love doesn't come easy. It comes through storms, through loss, through moments that test who we are and remind us who we're meant to be."